Welcome back to Terpy. I was back with another facility video. I think this is part 3 now. We're gonna start off by mixing some nutrients. Before we start mixing the nutrients, this is already mixed with nutrients previously. This one's just straight water currently, and we have it on recirculation. So this valve is open, this one is closed. Water comes in through the pump, up and around and back in. So that's will allow us to put each part of nutrients in 10 minutes apart while it fully mixes itself. And same with over here on flower room 2. This is the previous nutrient mix that we have from leftover from the first watering we did in flower room 2. So right now we have this valve closed, this one open, and it's going the same as flower room 1 and recirculating in here with just straight water currently. So we'll start off by adding our front row egg nutrients. We got front row SI, part A, part B, and Phozyme. That's all we need right now for the veg stage. I'm not putting any more additives other than this. This is all the plants get it for the entire veg stage. So I'll mix these up and then I'll check in with you guys after. I just finished mixing the front row egg nutrients in both the tanks behind me for flower room 1 along with flower room 2 over there. You can see the color difference between the nutrient tanks, and then these two tanks just have straight water as holding tanks currently. We don't have any plants in veg room. And over here, we have the nutrients mixed also. Everything's being recirculated into both tanks, so they're perfectly mixed in both of them. While that was mixing, I was in flower room 2 in here, and let me turn off the fans so you can hear me for a second. I got in here and adjusted all the fans so they're pointed straight out now. Before they were pointed down towards the plants, which makes it a bit too strong for the plants. So overall, fans are in perfect directions now, and the small clones here are enjoying the more air circulation in here. This has been about 12 hours since I watered these plants and transplanted them. So they have perked up a little bit overnight, and I can see some improvement. We'll see how they turn out over the next few days. Our first watering was to soak the medium, like get it a good amount of moisture in it. Now we're going to hit it again. Now there's been about 12 hours, maybe 20 hours. Hit it again and do a bunch of runoff just in case there is anything in the growing medium that we don't want to be in there. Going to get our fresh nutrients in there, the exact pH level that we need, and then these plants should take off over the next 3 or 4 days. So we're gonna head over into flower room 1 now to resolve our drip emitter situation. Got all the old drip emitters and lines taken out. They're pretty much down every row of tables, all gone. It's pretty disappointing that all of this is such a waste, but it is what it is. We're gonna make it right. Good thing we figured it out before we did flower room 2. One positive is we only have to redo this room. Flower room 2, we'll get it done correctly the first time. Thing we're gonna resolve is taking out this loop, and then also changing this from going straight up. We're gonna 90 it down, and then the white tube will just go straight down, so we won't have to worry about it not holding the water. The problem with this tube is it is not Netafim. Again, a cheaper alternative on the market, just is not up to par to the Netafim products that I personally used before. I use these Netafim Permalock fittings. I brought these with me from Canada because they are not available in Thailand. So that just shows how much I trust this product. Is I filled one of my suitcases instead of bringing a bunch of clothes. I brought my irrigation parts that I wanted to use. We will be swapping out all this white pipe, even in the lines, that's why it's on the ground, to Netafim lines. This white stuff, whoever makes it, it makes it very difficult to punch the holes for the drip emitters. The Netafim line has more rigidity to it. This stuff is pretty flimsy, so a little disappointed in that, but that's what we're going to take care of next. And then we'll get to hand watering both flower room 2 and flower room 1, and then I think I'll be done for the night because it is getting pretty late here. I think it's 9 p.m. right now, so hopefully I'll be out of here by midnight. Over here in flower room 2 now, I got my hose on the ground in here, and I got my hand watering wand here. I'm just gonna go through and water each of these plants with about, I'm gonna hit it with about 5 or 6 seconds of this on about 3/4 of the way, which will give us a good amount of runoff and set our growing medium at a base 5.8 pH with around a 3. Okay, so I just finished up working for the night. It's about 12:30, just past midnight. I'm in flower room 2 right now. I just finished up hand watering both flower room 2 and flower room 1, so I can go home and rest for the night. I seen a bunch of comments on the last 2 previous commercial grow videos about what type of bags these are. So I'm gonna give you a little look at them, what I do to them to be able to grow in them. So these are the bags. They're just plastic bags. This is how they come. It is a 10-liter white bag, no holes in it, filled with cocoa/peat mix. They custom make this for me since I did a big large order with them. What I do is I cut off the top of the bag about, I would say 4 to 5 inches right there, and then I fold it over one time, which gives me a nice lip where when I hand water, the water doesn't spill over the edges. And then after I do my first watering, I come in here and put 4 holes on each side of the bag at the bottom to give us some drainage and air holes. And then they're ready to be grown in. That's the best option that I have found in Thailand. And I think overall, all my growing styles, I like using these the best so far, because they're not super compressed, so they are easy to transplant the clones into and hydrate right off the bat. And the extra work of just cutting the top open and poking the holes in the bottom, I feel is a lot easier to do than the compressed cocoa blocks that a lot of people use. Just my opinion. Okay, I'm gonna head home for the night and I'll check back in with you guys tomorrow on the next projects that we got going on. Back at the facility, just another day starting. Lights come on in about half hour, so before that I'm just trying to get a couple jobs done outside the room in the irrigation tank. So I've already gone ahead and added this pipe in to that 90 degrees, so when the water does come on, it sometimes pushes this up, so it no longer does that. There's about 5 inches under inside the tank. Same with this side, so that no longer does that anymore, so we're safe there. We're going to fix this leak now, so we're going to replace this T, this fitting, and up to this union. So this whole section will be taken care of. I have my parts over here. We have the T, we have these 2 pieces already cut, and then we'll be adding that there, and then this on this side. So that's what we're kind of after, and then we'll have the union out here once we add another straight piece, which is right there. Just using some PVC glue here. Just in flower room 1 right now. I talked about last week about thinning out these tables, so that's what we're doing right now. I've already took the liberty of taking out blue Skittles, the small plants. So here's the small ones on the ground. I just need to clean out the entire room after this. So quite a few got taken out. Just want the canopy most even as possible. As you can see with those plants out now, it's completely flat across the entire board. So we'll continue that across the entire room now. So I just finished up in flower 1 getting the small clones out of each of the 5 benches. We got Sunday Driver, Tropicana Cherry, Sour Diesel, Grease Monkey, and Blue Skittles here. Each table had 100 plants in it, or clones. Now that it's about day 15 of veg, we want to narrow those plants down. So we made it 75 plants per table, which is about 9 plants per light, which is ideal. That's the numbers I like to run per light. So we're gonna see how that does. We're gonna give it about 2 or 3 more days of veg, and then we'll flip to flower once I've installed some trellis netting poles on the side and our new irrigation line. So before we go into flower room 1 to water them for the day, I have my nutrients mixed up here, which is front row ag nutrients. This side has already been mixed from yesterday. This is just straight water with front row SI in it currently. It's doing its recirculation thing. And then, as you guys already know, it's 10 minutes between each part, and that goes into the reservoir. I don't use any other additives. And then we'll go into flower room 1 and complete the watering. Before that, I've got nutrients mixed here and straight water here. So next time when we feed the plants, we're gonna give them half strength of nutrients, because I have a little update for you guys on flower room 2. Let me shut the fans off for you guys so you can hear me. I got one of each of the 5 strains we have, which will be going home with me and then going to the Blem Genetics new grow space. So we have those as mother plants and added to our library. As for the clones in here, about 2 days, they're getting a little shocked right now. You can see some white there and some burning in the center. This strain is the worst strain, which is full gas, my favorite strain out of the bunch, and a couple other ones are showing the same exact signs. I had a talk with the owner of that company today. He said, "Oh, no problem, send us the clones back." I said, "Well, we've already transplanted them, and that will set us back about a month if we return these clones to him." And then he said, "Well, if you're going to return them, make sure they come back tomorrow so he can sell them to the next person." So maybe these clones even came returned from somebody else. Never know. So we're going to make the best of the situation and see how these plants go for the next 7 days. They should snap out of it over a little bit of time, but that's unnecessary veg time that I shouldn't have to put the effort in to make clones healthy when purchasing them from another company. So this is just a quick update of this room. We have the lights giving these clones about 250 ppfd, and it's on 18 hours on, 6 hours off. Our temperature is set to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and our relative humidity is around a 70%. So we're aiming for a 0.9 VPD to 1.0. So I'll head into flower room 1 now, do the watering for the day, and then I'll head home. Back in flower room 1, I'm about to hand water all these plants. Like I mentioned in the previous clip, we got each table down to 75 plants, and we can still see the canopy is full and much flatter now that I've taken out all the short plants. It's almost perfectly flat on all 5 clone tables, and then over there on the larger clones from my tent, they're a bit taller, and then the seed plants are also the same height as that. Sour diesel is a little bit taller than these 4 tables, but overall we have a completely even canopy from my topping technique, and then removing all the small straggler plants. We'll walk you fully down the table so you can see just how even everything is. A couple smaller ones here, but no big deal. I'm very happy with how this canopy is turning out. We have about 1 or 2 taller plants out there, but overall very happy. Someone mentioned in the previous video comments about getting glasses for the grow room, so I figured I would show you guys what I'm using. These lights are Grandmaster LED lights, and they come with glasses, which I do wear in here, just not when I'm making a video, because I'd rather be looking at you guys so you guys get the full effect of me talking to you. So let me get in here and hand water. It takes me about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes to do them, maybe a little bit shorter now that I've taken out about 25 plants per row or per table. So I'll bang that out, and then that's all my work for tonight, and then I'll head home. It's currently 10:30 p.m. right now, so okay, you guys just saw me assemble these units. These are for the end of the irrigation line. Like I showed you earlier in the video, we're redoing everything with new lines and trippers. So that portion is complete, so we can get to installing new lines inside the rooms. We're just waiting on the tube to arrive tomorrow. We're in flower room 1 right now. I've already got the new tubes put down each line. of each row, and then we'll connect that last piece that goes on the connecting end of this with the air valve, and then we'll get to installing the drippers after that. In here is looking pretty beautiful. I think we're on day 16 of veg. The lights just came on about a half hour ago. This strain, Tropicana Cherry, is the last one to perk up. It's always a little bit droopy and laggy behind, but the blue Skittles is looking nice. Sunday Driver, beautiful. Grease Monkey, short and squat, but super steady or flat canopy there. Sour Diesel, a little bit taller plants, but looking great. Pretty even canopy. The purple on the other clones are starting to go away. It's more red now. So slowly but surely, we're getting rid of the purple stems. Over on the seeded plants, very nice, super healthy plants. This table is super packed in here, but as soon as we flip to flower, we'll get rid of all the males, and it should go down to about 60-65 plants in here, and then we'll be rocking and rolling in here. So quick update on flower room 1. As we go back out here, my next project will be to finish off replacing this tee. I just need to install the union onto this section, and then we'll swap it out. So enjoy the time lapse. Okay, so that's all replaced. Just letting the glue dry a little bit before we open the valves and test it out. I have that valve closed, and closed, so no water's getting access to it right now. We'll give it about a half hour, and then we'll turn on the valves, make sure there's no leaks. Then we can mix some nutrients in this tank to water flower room 1 tonight. And then we'll give you a quick update on flower room 2 and how the clones are recovering from being transplanted. So here we are, we got our 5 plants here representing one of the clones of each of the Hidden Valley genetics. And then in here, this one is Terpy Tatin. Getting a lot more green to them now that they're exposed to quality light and nutrients. We got King Juice here. We got a little bit of light burn there, but no big deal. Velvet Moon, getting a little bit more green. We'll see some color come back to them. Velvet Moon is actually the only strain so far that's drooping down. So hopefully in the next couple days, we'll see those leaves perk right up like the strawberries over here. Slowly but surely, I'm sure they'll come back. They're getting a lot more green than they were a few days ago. But overall, we'll make these things work for how they came. Like, that is not from us getting the clones or transport. That came like that. Same with over here. But overall, looking good in here. I should have turned off the fans for you guys so you could hear me a bit better. I have to start remembering that, so sorry about the loud noise of wind going all over the place. How you guys like that view? I'm pretty happy about that so far. Okay, so I'll head over to flower room 1 and give them a watering. And then I think that's all for tonight. Our next goal is to get all the drip emitters in here in the morning. We're gonna spend the whole day doing both this room and flower room 1 to finally get the irrigation system complete in this facility, allowing me to focus on growing the plants and possibly building out the other 2 flower rooms, I hope. In here, not much has to be done other than redoing this section and then having it come straight down so we avoid the same issue we had in flower room 1. Anyways, I'll set you guys up on the time lapse for watering flower room 1. nutrients that you just saw in the previous time lapse. So we got our nutrients here, part B with the Phozyme, and part A, I've already added the front row SI. I know I keep showing you this process, but it's part of the entire operation. So here we are, we're mixing the nutrients in this tank right now. Currently I mixed this tank previously, and we're gonna give the plants 50% strength. So this was all water, and that was 100% nutrient mix strength. So now we're just blending the two before we water the plants, which we're going to do tomorrow, not today. Give you a little update. Plants are growing out of the condition that they were provided to us in. They're getting a lot better. You can see the greens coming back to them. They're not so yellow and light green. Room's looking really good. We'll go down a little bit farther, show you the Terpy Tatin, King Juice. Still pretty small, but they have actually grown over the last day, maybe a day and a half. So I'm happy to see that. The Velvet Moon is the only strain that seems to be stressing out quite a bit. The leaves haven't really perked up at all yet, so we'll be seeing that over the next 3 or 4 days, I hope. Over here on the strawberries, looking good. A little bit of stress showing there, but it is what it is with the condition how these plants are. Nori cake. It's growing out of the stuff condition, but a lot greener than they came. Room's looking really good. We only have the lights on at 20% power and at their max height right now. So the plants are still getting only 250 ppfd. We'll leave it like that for maybe a day, maybe 2 more days, and then we'll bump it up to 300. Since we've already really aren't doing much work in this room currently. I don't think I showed you guys the veg room yet, so we're gonna pop in there just so you guys can finally see that space. So here's veg. I'm not sure if you can hear me because the fans are pretty loud, but we had got 3 rolling benches that are 32 feet long, 4 feet wide. We got 7 lights per row, and it's double layered. These are Grandmaster 4 veg lights. Cover the space perfectly. Very happy with how this room turned out. I got a humidifier there and a humidifier here. This side of the room on the roof, there's 2 supplies and 2 more supplies. So all the supply air from the ventilation system is coming down at the front of the room. And then as we go to the back, we already got our irrigation lines done, our drain lines done, all the Pinnacle controls in here ready to go. And then at the back of the room, we have the air return. As the airflow comes into the room, it gets pulled all the way across the room and then out the roof right there. So we have perfect airflow in here, combined with the ventilation on top of the lights. We have a perfectly even environment to all areas. We have some of the plants left over that we took out of flower room 1. We had about 80 more of these that got taken away today. These will be gone in the next couple days. Here's my irrigation setup. This was all done and designed by myself. So there are some mistakes, but overall I'm happy with how it turned out. It comes into the room here, and then it feeds off to each zone, irrigation zone, comes across the roof, and then feeds each zone. So each area, that's one zone, that's one zone, that's one zone, and so on down here, 1, 2, and 3. Very clean setup, simple. We got all the automation in here. So that's pretty much it for now until we start really getting this facility filled with plants and cycling plants through the veg room, then flower room, and so on and so forth. We're on day 6 since transplanting the clones into the grow bags, and they are slowly recovering from their condition that we got them in. So we'll take a quick look at them. They have greened up quite a bit, actually starting to grow now. We see a little bit of stress from the light and nutrients that We gave them right off the bat because they were such weak clones. We weren't sure of how much light the supplier was giving them, so they did get a little shocked, but they are growing out of that. Most of them are very good. Each table has about 100 plants, like I've said in the past. We still got my mother plants here that will be moved over to a different room, and we have some leftover teens that are just chilling here for another day or so until the person comes and picks them up. Instead of running the veg room just for this amount of plants, we just put them off to the side in here to chill for a couple days. Overall, very happy. You can see this plant has definitely grown quite a bit since we first got it. All these plants are starting to grow nicely. So tomorrow we'll come in here, lower the lights quite a bit. We'll turn on the CO2 to 700 ppm. It's currently around 450, 500 ppm in here. And the lights are at 20% all the way raised up. So we'll bring them about halfway down, a couple of feet off the tops of the plants. We'll give them around 300 ppfd. We do have all the fans on all the time. I just turn them off so you guys can hear me better while I'm in here making a video for you. Let me take you down to the end where I got the irrigation lines completed, both in this room and in flower room 1. Before we had the style where the white tube would come up and loop down. Now we've made the loop in PVC. We have a valve there, and then it comes straight down to the table. This works perfect. We've already tested it in flower room 1. It's currently watering the plants over there, so we'll head over there so you guys can see how those plants are doing on their first day of flower. Very happy with the outcome in flower room 2 or flower room 1 so far. The plants are a little bit over vegged, but with our issue that we had with the irrigation system, as you can see, we had another issue here with the water overflowing because I turned my back and went and did something else. So here we are in, let me turn off the fans for you guys, in flower room 1. Canopy is looking phenomenal, completely flat across these first 4 tables. Then we go a little bit higher on the sour diesel, and then just a couple inches higher on the other clones that we have over here. And then we have our seeded plants, which are looking phenomenal also. The combination between the Grandmaster lights, the Pinnacle controls, the front row egg nutrients, and the Pulse environmental monitors, we've got this entire place dialed right in for explosive growth. I can't believe how fast these plants are growing. It's actually ridiculous. It was day 20 before we flipped the lights. This is day 1 of flower. So tomorrow I will be raising the lights quite a bit and turning up the percentage on them so we can blast the ppfd up to 600 or 700 ppfd for the plants. They're currently around 500. Some of them are a little bit higher because they're closer to the light, but overall doing really good. I'll show you the irrigation system on this side also. We completed the straight down white pipes right now, and currently I'm still hand watering row 1 and 2 because those are seeded plants. We'll wait another 5 days or so for these regular seeds to show the males. We'll get rid of those, and then we'll even out these 2 tables to fit the proper amount of plants on each of those tables so we can install the drip emitters in there. Aiming for about 75-80 plants per table. Right now over here is the only table that we have over 90 in. The rest of them are at 75, which is our ideal number for this grow space. We'll walk down this side also so you can see the blue Skittles that I've been showing you as all the updates. Slow it down so you can see the full canopy over here. One upgrade that I still need to do, which I just ordered now because it keeps slipping my mind, is a float valve for the sump pump right here so we can automatically just run the water out here, because we cannot run the automatic watering system because I need to be here to plug this plug in to turn the plug or turn the pump on. If I just leave, this bin fills up quite fast with all these plants in here being watered, so we need to automate that. That's the last piece of the puzzle for the automation on the irrigation system. But super happy in here. We're gonna water the plants for about 20 minutes right now, and then I'm gonna head home for the night, and we'll be back here again tomorrow. So, okay, start of another day. We're back in flower room 2 currently, starting off the day in here. We're going to get our topping done in here. It's currently day 7. So we're going to use the same style that we used in flower room 1 in the previous episodes that we did. So our different style of topping is removing the top fan leaf, just like that. So we remove that leaf. And since these plants are a little bit smaller, we're going to take 2 off. And then that's the topping that we do currently. And then we'll come back in here. So that was previous. And that's the after done. So we only do that to the clones that currently are growing, and then we come back tomorrow, and any plants that start to sprout up with their fan leaf, you take the top fan leaf off the very next day or in 2 days. Usually it's every 2 days at this point, and then it becomes every day until we have a flat top, and then we'll be ready to flip to flower. Another thing we're gonna do today after we finish the topping, we'll be lowering the lights and making all the plants receive around 300 ppfd, and then we'll wait a couple days and then move it up to 350 and then 400 as the plants get bigger and strong. Okay, so we just finished up the topping in flower room 2, so now we're in flower room 1. For today's update, we're raising the lights up quite a bit, and then we're gonna also turn up the power level on them to provide these plants with around 600 ppfd at canopy height. And then over the next few days, since they're in stretch mode, they will grow up closer to light, making the top of the canopy get even more intense light, bringing up to maybe 700 or 800. And also now our irrigation system is fully completed, so we're going to do our first entire run of automatic watering on this room and see how everything works. We did do a test automatic irrigation yesterday, and we did have one point of failure, which we have addressed, and we will be updating that in the next couple days. This pump is not big enough for the amount of water that comes out of these 8 tables, let alone the other 8 tables on the other side of this room, which also come into this tank. So we ordered a bigger pump with a float valve, so we won't have to manually plug this in anymore. And hopefully that pump is twice the size of this one, so hopefully it'll be able to keep up. If not, then we'll have to find another pump to put in here to make that work. But overall, very happy with how everything has been done so far. Canopy is looking very flat over these first 4 tables. Then we jump up for 2 more tables of the other clones, and then over by the seeded plants, it's getting super crowded in there. And the regular seeded plants are starting to show their sex, very small amounts. So I'm going to give it another day or 2 for the sex of them actually to show, so I don't have to zoom in like this and try and focus on the smallest portion of the signs of sex. So everything's looking real good in here. Super full canopy. Right before we put the trellis netting on and support poles, we're going to come in here and do a full lollipopping all the way up to like the second node of each of the branches. So pretty much everything from here down would be stripped off, just so we have a solid canopy and no larf or popcorn buds come harvest time. And then over here on the seeded plants also, as you can see, some strains are super short, like this Butterfingers here, and then right next to it is a Banana OG, which is a super strong tall plant. So we're gonna reorganize both this table and the table beside it, and we'll put all the short plants on one table and all the tall plants on the other, and then organize them from short or tall or medium-sized plants. So that's in the next couple days, we'll do that. I'm still hand watering these 2 tables as we don't know what the final numbers are going to be on here, so we haven't installed the drip emitters into these tables yet. But you can see everything's done now in here, looking super clean. Okay, we're back in flower room 2. I just adjusted the lights. I don't know if you guys can tell on camera, but they're a lot lower. They're around 300 ppfd at the canopy level. We also did the topping technique, which is right here. Removed the first leaf or two. Here would be a fan leaf and there would be another fan leaf. So depending on how big the clone is, like this one we only took one off of. That one over there we only took one, oh actually two, no sorry, one off that plant, two off of this one. So depending on how tall the plant is, like this one right here, see how it's much taller than say the one behind it. This taller one we would take two leaves off, and the shorter one we would take one leaf off of. That way, over time, over the next week or so, all these plants are pretty much the exact same height. Other than that, they're doing really well for the condition that they showed up in. Very happy. We're starting to see the height growth happen every day. These other clones from Hidden Valley Genetics are just ridiculous. Like, look how big that is. I think that's day 22 since transplanting. These are still in veg, that's why they're over here, and we're just waiting on a person to come pick those up still. He keeps changing the date till the next day, which is kind of annoying because I kind of want them out of here, but it is what it is. We got some really tall ones like this, which means that we need to make the light a little bit more intense. That's why we lowered them today. Unfortunately, my par meter got a little moisture in it, and the connections inside of it are no longer good, so I have to order another par meter. Hopefully that shows up in a couple days. That way we're not really guessing on the PPFD. I did get it to work a few times to get the readings in here, but I think it's just garbage after that, so we'll throw that out. One other issue that I have, you might see a valve system or whip kit missing from this section, just like this one. I had to steal this from this room and move it into flower room 1 because we had one of these valves fail right out the box. So we replaced that over there. That's one good thing about ordering all the exact same thing. It is being able to switch them out interchangeably between locations. Unfortunately, I did not have an extra 3/4 inch size. I have like 10 extra 1 inch sizes, so I will have to order a few extra of those now that we have one failed one. So I'll put an order in for 10 just so we're not having 0 on hand in case that happens in the future. Let's head over to flower room 1 and give you guys an update on over there with the lights down, as that will pretty much end my day, and then I'll head home. We got our nutrient tanks always full. This one's straight water, this one's nutrients from the day before. After we finished our watering for today, these are both what's left, so I'll transfer this one into here. Then we have one tank of nutrients used for the next day, and this will be straight water. So going into flower room 1, let me shut the fans off. This room is on kill mode. Just ridiculous. It's a little hot in here. It's about 90 degrees right now, just because I turned the lights up to 50% power from 20% power before. I did raise them quite a bit, but now I have to adjust my reheat settings as the heater level is too high with the combination of the heat that's coming off the lights. So we're getting a little hotter than we want in here. We want to get that temperature down below 84 degrees Fahrenheit. It's currently 90, so come on down here at the end. Just finished our first automatic watering system cycle, where we found out number 3 needed this section replaced. We got that replaced, set the watering schedule again, and no more issues. Happy with everything working out. This pump didn't overflow today, so that's good. We do have another one on order, which will be here in a couple days, but this new style of irrigation going from the wall to the table, working out great, no kink lines, and every plant is happy in here. We're in here on day 8 since transplanting the clones into the growing medium. I just ended up connecting our CO2 setup right now. I got the line ran, and then it goes up the wall and to the back of the fan. That way it can push the CO2 across the entire room, and with the circulation of all the fans, it'll even out the entire space. I currently have the CO2 set to 700 ppm for these small plants. We'll keep it at that level during the veg stage, and as we get the plants bigger, we'll raise the PPFD to match the CO2 levels. They are starting to grow nicely now. They aren't sucking up much water or nutrients right now, so that's a little slow, but I figure now that the plants are actually getting some roots, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but through the bag we do see some roots finally growing, which is an indication that these plants will start to explode with some growth over the next 2 or 3 days. So I figure this room is about a week slower than F1, but that was due to the fact of the condition of these clones. But overall, we're looking good now that everything's pretty much recovered and snapped out of whatever they were in before. A lot of people have been DMing me about the topping technique that I've been doing with removing only the top fan leaf. This is an example of a plant that had the same treatment. I don't know how easy you'll be able to see, but this is the top main growth. You can see that it is one branch. It doesn't Y off like your typical topping technique. So that is the very top center of the plant. And you can see just how many other tops we have that are even. I counted them earlier. There's 12 tops here, and then there's a couple secondary ones that you can see off to the side, which when you go through the lollipopping process, you would take these shorter ones out and you'd be left with 12 nice even tops. And when you do stop taking the fan leaves off the top, it doesn't make this top go any faster than the ones around it. They all stay the same height as they grow up, and then you're left with 12 even colas come harvest time off of one plant. Here's another example. This is the top main growth of this plant, and then we're surrounded by all the other branches around the edges. And all 5 strains had that same treatment, and you can see it's pretty much even. This one, my partner took off a leaf or two too many and slowed this one down quite a bit, and the surrounding ones ended up being taller than that. But it's his first time learning on how to do any plant techniques, but overall it's looking very good. Back in flower room 2, it's currently day 4 of flower. The canopy is looking amazing behind me. Everything's super green and starting to stretch nicely, stacking each node site perfectly. Canopy's perfectly even, very happy to see that. Even across the other half of the room that is a little bit higher in height. We'll come in here over the next, I think in 2 days I'll come in here and do the entire lollipopping up to here. We'll get the trellis netting on for support and all the trellis net support poles in here. The automatic irrigation watering system is doing well. Still haven't updated the pump to the new one that we got. We just need to get a larger size hose to fit through that space. I'll turn this one on so it can start to drain the sump pump there. One problem that we have come into is our valves take about a half an amp per valve to turn on, since they are AC valves. I should have ordered DC valves and a open sprinkler DC controller, but I'll do that style in the other 2 flower rooms. I wasn't aware of how much AC valves take for power or amperage. So right now we have a 3 amp power supply on our open sprinkler, which is not enough to open all the valves at the exact same time. So when they do open, 1 or 2 tables actually don't start watering the plants at the same time. So right now we can only do 4 or 5 tables at once, and then the rest after. So I'll be updating the power supply to fix that issue. Just parts of a facility when this is only my 2nd time building a grow room, and I think I'm doing pretty well for my 2nd time. Some little kinks in the road, like the irrigation system, will work out. Not a big deal. It's still all managing perfectly fine in here. I have actually changed the CO2 tank today, and also just like in flower room 2, I ran the hose up behind the fan, so it's pushing the CO2 gas across the entire canopy to evenly disperse it everywhere. Before, we just had it shooting out the bottom and letting the airflow spread it out. You can see it's pretty cold in here just because our CO2 did run out, and our ppm in here was around 400 ppm. So to get the room back up to 1000 ppm, which is what we want for this stage of growth. It's just been pushing gas out of here constantly, so it's getting a little cold. That'll go away once the room has acclimated at 1000 ppm. But overall, that's looking pretty good in here. That's all the time I got for this week's video. So until next time, happy growing everyone. And remember to get out there and make it happen.